Warning: the following visual novel contains subject matter that some viewers may find sensitive and perhaps even distressing. For example, this visual novel touches upon issues of xenophobia, anti-LGBT prejudice, toxic masculinity, abusive behaviour, and also sexual assault and the trauma that it inflicts upon its victims. This does mean that certain scenes within the game will likely make many players feel uncomfortable. If you have ever been a victim of xenophobia, anti-LGBT prejudice, abuse or violence, especially including of a sexual nature, then please be aware of this before you watch this playthrough. And please rest assured that the words and actions of certain characters within this visual novel should not be taken to reflect the views of either myself as a Let's Player or of the devs who made the game. For full disclosure, I am a supporter of LGBT rights. I am a supporter of challenging and tackling xenophobia and prejudice of any kind, and I am also well aware of the trauma suffered by victims of violence and abuse, and the need to therefore treat them with sympathy and support. The General Red Strategist channel is meant to be a safe space where people of all walks of life can come and enjoy my content. Thank you for listening to this. I just wanted to make this clear, as I felt that some of the issues touched upon in this visual novel could be shocking for some. When are we going to get to the bunker, though? That's the question. Who knows? Oh, Chapter 2, Kira. Same day. Okay. I wonder how many chapters there are, because obviously this is probably just a... this is just supposed to be episode 1. The woman who was supposed to be interrogating me looked pretty tired. She quickly read me my rights, and right after that, she suggested starting. Oh god, that's a very dark text, that, but it's investigator. Kira, here's what I say. First you'll tell me everything you know, and then we both put it down on a piece of paper. Sounds good. Despite this friendly tone of the investigator, I felt quite uncomfortable. Most of my classmates came here with their parents, but my mum and dad are too busy working. It made me mad again thinking about it. Tell me, how did you find her? We started the conversation with the most unpleasant and, in my opinion, meaningless question. The crime scene investigators have already examined the scene. What else do they need to know? However, I decided to tell her everything, including the smallest details. What if my testimony actually helps them to find the murderer? I took a deep breath and we started. I was walking Hiki. That's that. Hikikomori, or simply Hiki, is total withdrawal from society and seeking extreme degrees of social isolation and confinement. Hikikomori culture is mostly associated with Japan. Interesting. Okay. My husky dog, I call her that because she doesn't like to walk very much. She only lasts for about 10 or 15 minutes walking, then starts asking me to take her home. Anyway, I guess it's not important. Most of the time I take her for a walk in the morning. My mum and dad walk her in the evening. That day they were staying late at work and Hiki was whining, so I took her out. Continue, please. In the morning I'm usually in a hurry to get ready for school, so I take her out for a walk inside the neighbourhood for a little. When I take her for a walk in the evening, I like to walk around the city, especially when the weather is nice. So how far away did you go from home? I'm thinking, shall I give her my sort of my girl voice that I gave, for example, Sayaka and Aoi in Danganronpa? Because the thing is, it sounds like a female character. She's mentioned school, so she's probably young, she's probably a teenager. And not very far. I went towards Lena's house at 12 minutes walk from us. It's not really a girl voice, but it's slightly different. It's more of a slightly anxious voice. Why did you decide to go that way? I thought I'd visit her. She wasn't returning my text messages. What is your relationship with her? We're friends. I hesitated for a moment. Couldn't get used to speak about Lena in the past tense. We were friends. Not very close ones, but I would hang out with Nadia and her most of all. We often texted each other. Was it a common occurrence that she wouldn't reply to your messages? No, she sometimes ignored me in... V-Contactor. V-Contact, I know what that is. That's a VK, isn't it? That's like the Russian Facebook, I think, when she was with Roma. But that wasn't the case for SMSs. We would exchange them only when something urgent happened. She would always answer, okay, let's see, am I right? Yeah, VK, most popular social media in Russia. I'm right, yeah. Roma is a suitor? In some other time and situation, I would have been very amused by the word suitor. Not only is it old-fashioned to me, but it described Roma so poorly in their relationship. He's a good guy, don't get me wrong, but he definitely would not know how to treat her right. He's a boyfriend. They were going out. For how long? Let me see. They started dating somewhere at the beginning of the school year. I think in October, so almost half a year. Did they have fights? I didn't like what she was getting at, but I decided to be honest. Yes, they did. What was the reason and how bad was it? Tell me more, please. In short, it was because he wasn't affectionate enough for the most part. Lena would jokingly refer to him as Romeo, but he was the opposite of that image. Like, he wouldn't get her flowers, give her gifts, or make surprises. Once after Valentine's Day, they even broke up for a week because he didn't bring her a gift. Then they got back together? Yeah. He was begging her back for a very long time, telling her that he would change. He even kept his promise. On 8th of March he gave her flowers for the first time. It was the most tasteless bouquet of flowers that you could find in the city, but Lena was still very happy. Did they have sexual relations? First question of the day that took me by surprise. In the morning I ran through all possible questions I might be asked, but I didn't think of that. However, now it makes sense that this information could really help out the investigation. I don't know, but I think so. Yeah, like 90% positive? Why do you think so? He came to her house a couple of times when her parents were on a business trip. Her parents would often go somewhere for work. They used to take Lena with them, but then she began to stay home, saying she needs to prepare for exams and doesn't want to miss school. Was that true? Not quite. Lena was a really good student and tried not to miss school. However, she talked her parents into not taking her with them the last few times, mostly because of Roma. Did she ever tell you what they do when her parents are not at home? No, not really. She said that they watch movies, order delicious food, just that she made all sorts of hints that they were doing something else too. What type of hints? I'm not comfortable telling. Well, all kinds of hints, like she once said thanks to Roma she discovered a new world. Lena normally likes to speak metaphorically. What else would you expect from someone who writes fan fiction? Okay, that's a interesting thing to note. I mean, it's very vague, but what is that? I felt even more embarrassed, but then I decided that fanfiction can be quite innocent. Not everyone writes in the same genre as Lena, after all. It's basically small fan stories based on some work. Lena used to write them and upload them to a forum where people could read them and write reviews. Can you tell me where I could read them? No, this is too much. For the first time today, I feel like, no, you should tell her. Maybe? I feel like you should there, because it's all that idea of like building up a picture of someone's character, which may help in an investigation, especially if she's been murdered. I don't remember much. The last time I read them was a year ago. You can ask Marina, she's Lena's friend. She was closer with her than me. I doubt that Lena's fanfiction stories can give the investigators any clues, but you never know. It's good that I managed to dump it all on Marina. Let's go back to that day. She didn't reply to your messages, and you decided to check on her. Yeah, exactly. I was worried because I knew for sure that her parents were returning from a business trip that day. She won't be late. She was saying the other day that she should be meeting them at 8 o'clock in the evening. When did you stop responding to your SMSs? I wrote at 6. Exactly? I don't remember. Can I check? Yes, of course. I took out my phone, went to send messages, and I found that text message there. 1802. She nodded and wrote it down in a notebook. When was the last time you saw her? In the morning at school. Then we went home and she went for a walk with a small group. Who's in this group? Roma, Marina, Pasha and Andre? Ah, Andre. Andre? Blonde dude? That guy? Who I thought looked like just a young man rather than a teenager, but okay. It could be a completely different Andre. We'll see. Marina is Lena's close friend? Duh. What about Pasha and Andre? Pasha is Marina's boyfriend. Andre is a friend of Pasha and Lena. How close were Andre and Lena? Pretty close. She's known him for a long time. It seemed like he liked Lena, but he never spoke about his feelings. Did Lena reject his courtship? There wasn't any courtship. It's just that Lena was Andre's only female friend. He spent a lot of time with her. Marina once said that he told Pasha that he was obsessed with Lena, but you better ask Marina about it. You said that Lena and Andre spent a lot of time together. Wasn't Roma jealous of it? That's a good word. He had an argument with Andre a couple of times because of this. Andre told him that it's none of his business who he chooses to be friends with. Once they even had a fight. Did Andre visit Lena? Yes, but only a few times while her parents were home. They studied for the exams together. Lena helped him with math and Andre helped her with English. It's a good question though. So, some of these plane crash survivors, how old are they? they supposed to be very young? I'm not entirely sure, because we know that Nikolai is only 15. That was revealed. And Lisa is 23. But what about, like, the other dudes? Like Vadim and Vitya and Mark and the Andre we saw before. Is that the same Andre, or is it different? Is Andre a good student? I try to remember. He does, sort of. True, he's not very good at math and physics, but he is good at social science and languages. Okay, thanks. Sorry to interrupt again. Can you finish the story of that day to the end and we'll be done? I was glad it was finally over. The interrogation wasn't as stressful as I feared, but I was still very tired. It's an interesting scene to be having this. So I guess at some point, this character, Kira, I'm guessing this character is going to be another survivor of the plane crash. She's going to be there. And if it is indeed the other Andre, if indeed Andre that we met before is the Andre she's referring to, then it'll be interesting to see if this plays into the full storyline in any way. Obviously, maybe not in this episode, but maybe in a future episode. Hiki and I went down to the underground passage in front of Lena's house. There was rarely anyone walking there because it was dirty in the passage. The street was narrow and it was easier to just run across it, but Lena didn't like it, and she always used the passage, and taught me to do it too. As we went downstairs, Hiki started to pull me towards a dark corner. I didn't pay attention to it at first, but Hiki was dragging me there very persistently, and I got curious about what she found there. Did you realise that this is Lena? No. However, I did realise it was a human body. I didn't even figure out whether they were alive or dead. I just pulled Hiki off, called an ambulance and ran out of there. Get up. Excuse me? Wake up. Whoa. Okay, she's waking up. She's going to wake up in the plane crash, isn't she? That was very abrupt. I'm not sleeping. What are you talking about? Come on, stop mumbling in your sleep. Who's waking her up? What does it all mean? Ah, here you are. Oh. Hello, hello. You look like some kind of a scientist. Assuming that is a lab coat. Get up. My head was pounding. I barely opened my eyes. It took me a few seconds to figure out where I was. Finally, everything started to fall into place. We crashed. The only strange thing was that I had this dream. Can people really see dreams when they pass out? Plus the interrogation. More often I look back and see in my dreams how I found Lena? How I found Lena, I should probably just say. But it's been a while since I last dreamed about the interrogation. The Sleeping Beauty is awake. A young girl with bright red hair was standing in front of me and I thought she was giggling. My name is Tonya. Do you remember what happened to you? I looked around. I was sitting in a chair with my head buried in the window glass. Oddly enough, it wasn't knocked out. We were in a plane crash, weren't we? Yes, that's right. Tonya frowned slightly, but after a few seconds again, she put a smile on her face, I should probably say. But we were lucky. We survived. All of us? Oh. Guy in the blue jacket. Okay. No, 4 of us died. A young guy broke into the conversation. It looked like he was about 18. 4 already? Yeah. The man who was bleeding from his head just stopped breathing. No heartbeat. Oh god, that's quite loud. I might just adjust the volume. 1 second all. Okay, there we go. That's better. Just to take it down a bit because it was getting quite noisy. I couldn't really hear myself. Horrible. I saw Tonya trying to fight her sadness and anxiety that weighed on her. She was doing pretty well. But now isn't the time to grieve. We must do something before we freeze ourselves to death here. After these words, I remembered about the cold. An icy wind was blowing outside, and the fragment of the plane in which we were sitting was covered with snow. Oh god, there's another person, Grumpy Girl. Okay. Alright, well I guess we might already have a read on your personality. Now, what else are we supposed to do? We don't know where we are, we don't have food and no idea where to go. Not everyone had warm clothes with them. I was certain that I would fly to Barnaul, where I'll be picked up, so I was just wearing a light coat. Alice, don't be so pessimistic. We should try to find the other part of the plane. Okay, so these guys are in a different section of the aircraft, I see. Parts. We were sitting in the middle, so there's a front and a back somewhere. Okay, so the other guy's there at the back, right? And Nick was one of the only survivors of the front, I guess. Yes, Boria, you're right. Boria? Okay, Boria, okay. By the way, Sleeping Beauty, you didn't introduce yourself. I'm Kira. Nice to meet you. She extended her hand to me and I shook it. Tonya's handshake was unusually strong for a girl. Created a contrast with her feminine voice and appearance. How many of us are there? Any injured? There are 7 survivors. 2 of them got injured, the rest are relatively fine. So you think that person who crashed in the mountains might be okay? Oh, that's Alice, of course. Alyssa, yeah. So you think that person who crashed in the mountains might be okay? I've only known this girl for 2 or 3 minutes, but she started pissing me off. Well, I meant to say that the others don't have any serious injuries. Boria, in response to Alice's reaction, started to hesitate and tried to justify himself. I hurried to support him. Yeah, it's important to know how many of us can't walk. Alice narrowed her eyes. And why is that important? Okay, are you going to be the troublemaker in this group? Are you going to be this game's equivalent of all the friggin' antagonistic characters in the Danganronpa games? Are you this game's Byakuya Togami? Is that what you are? Because we need to understand if we can start moving. Where? In search of others. If there are survivors in other parts of the plane, then we need to stick together. Then why don't they find us? There might be seriously injured among them. Anyway, I don't want to sit here like a princess in a tower and wait for someone to rescue me. I like your courage, Kira. I'm with you. Oh. Okay, his name is in complete Russian. Hold on a minute. I'm trying to look at the letters, because I do have a very vague knowledge of some Russian letters. It's been a while since I last looked at any, so I'm trying to figure out kind of the pronunciation of it. So, is it Puts? No. Something putty. Oh god, I'm not sure. No, I don't know. I can't pronounce it. I'd go for a walk too, otherwise what's the point of just sitting here? Good, what's your name? At least we've got another Mitya. Okay, Mitya. And by patronymic, that's another Russian thing about names. Patronymic is a component of a personal name based on the given name of one's father. In Eastern Slavic countries, name plus patronymic form, e.g. Vera Grigorievna, is obligatory when addressing a person of higher social stance and in official communication. In rural areas, the patronymic name alone, e.g. Mitrik, is used by old people among themselves, but younger people can also use the form for much older people for both respect and informality. Okay, there you go. The man looked about at least 30 years older than me, and I felt uncomfortable calling him by his first name. I was going to say, he looks a lot older than you. I'm Dmitry Dmitrovich. No, that's going too similar to other voices. Maybe I'll just go with my slightly deeper old man voice. I'm Dmitry Dmitrovich, but you can call me Mitya or Mitrich. Everyone calls me that. And come on, I'm not your boss or something. Dmitry Dmitrovich gave the impression of an ordinary Russian man. I guess it would be more comfortable for me to call him Mitrich than by his first name and patronym. Okay, what about the others? Oh god, there's another one. Nastya. Nastya, I don't mind walking either, but I'm not sure I can. Also, you don't look like you're dressed. You look like you're wearing a pretty short skirt, which is not going to be good in this kind of weather. What's wrong? Are you injured? Well, I'm not really injured, but my leg hurts and it's hard to walk. Boria says, it's okay, I'll help you. Did Boria blush after saying that, or was it my imagination? Uh-oh. Is this the ship? Are we shipping these two characters? Alright then. Nastya smiled slightly and Boria's cheek colour changed from peach to cherry. There's another wounded man who is still unconscious. What are we going to do with him? I think we should take him with us. We can't leave him to his fate. Mitrich, can you help? Mitrich was about 60, but he looked quite strong. His physique betrayed him as a former athlete, or, for example, a loader. Why not? Are you guys stupid or what? Why's that? I was determined that this time I would answer Alice harder, as her bitchiness and disrespect were getting on my nerves. Because. I gave her a questioning look and she decided to elaborate. First of all, it would be too difficult to carry the wounded with us. We'll walk longer and get exhausted faster. Secondly, he may have serious injuries, fractures. Moving and carrying him might make it worse. I mean, that's a point. If he does have fractures and things like that, usually that can be bad if you try moving people. But in that case, the answer is let's check him and see if he actually does have any. Her arguments were reasonable, I couldn't confront. I'll have to bury the hatchet for now. In that case, we need to remember this place so we can return as soon as we find other parts of the plane. I'm usually good at navigating unfamiliar landscapes, so I'll remember, but please back me up. So, shall we go or not? Tonya looked at me as if I was responsible for the decisions made now. This is what it's like to be a manager. You're responsible for others, even outside of work. Let's go, I guess. It's so cold here that the longer we sit, the harder it will be to walk. Okay, now I'm thinking that actually, the investigation scene, maybe that was a flashback to something much, much earlier in Kira's life. In which case, maybe, yeah, maybe this is now Kira as an adult, maybe. Hence Andre, if it is the same Andre, might also be an adult. Let's go, I guess. It's so cold here. Oh, I said that, didn't I? You're right, yes. Alice, do you have any objections? Yeah, but are you willing to listen? I don't intend to stay here alone. That's great. Tonya smiled with relief. I looked around at everyone. Looks like my small squad was ready to go. Let's move out then. Have you decided where? The question took me by surprise. I was about to admit that I was a useless leader, but Boria came to the rescue. When we were falling, the plane broke into two parts first, then the back half, where we were sitting, fell apart again. So we need to look for the tail. I think it should be close. But you can't see it from here. Visibility is very poor here, it's not surprising. Boria, where did it stay? Do you remember? Boria closed his eyes, trying to remember. I'm pretty sure it's up there somewhere. I think it's a little higher and we slipped down. So maybe we'll try to follow the trail until it's completely covered with snow. Yes, let's do it. Okay, striking out into the wilderness. Our little brainstorming proved to be fruitful. We moved out along the trail from the sliding debris. Walking was difficult, but I had no bags and it made it a bit easier. Alice didn't carry anything either. Tonya had a small bag. Mitrich carried a very heavy-looking suitcase, which he somehow managed to bring in the carry-on. Nastya leaned on Boria because of the injured leg. Either way, where's the luggage stored in the plane? I've no idea. I thought at the centre. Have you checked it? Maybe it's in the wreck? Boria, Nastya and Mitrich looked at each other in fear. No one wanted to return, but everyone understood that leaving luggage that might contain something useful was not an option. I checked. There was nothing. Good. I mean, bad of course, but that it wasn't there, but it's good that you checked it. I realised that it was worth looking through the shelves for hand luggage, but for some reason no one thought about it. I decided to remain silent so as not to demotivate the others. Well, you know, you're in a situation that you probably never expected, okay? So it's probably understandable that your brain's probably not thinking entirely straight and that you may, maybe you're not thinking entirely rationally because you're in survival mode or whatever. After some time we decided to make a halt. We've been walking for a long time, but we haven't found anything yet. We're moving slowly, so we probably didn't go far enough, and the visibility is very poor. Our wreck was out of sight after 5 minutes. Mitrich, your suitcase is very heavy, isn't it? I can help. It's okay, Taneka, don't worry. Okay, but I'm Tonya. Mitrich hit his forehead so hard that I flinched. I'm sorry, it's no fun to be old. Let's get to know each other better, by the way. Why? Well, we're doing a common task now. We need a little team building. Alice sneered dismissively. I'm not in the mood for that, sorry. It's okay. Let me just tell you a little about myself and the others can continue if they want. I'm Kira. Okay, 27. So this is older Kira then. The scene from before was a flashback to way back when. I'm 27 years old. I've been living in Moscow for 9 years, but I like visiting my family in Barnaul for vacation. I work as a product manager in one IT company. My hobbies are reading, watching shows and travelling. I don't mind sharing too. My name is Antonina according to my passport, but for everyone I'm Tonya. I'm 25 and I do nails. I love dogs, flowers and yoga. Okay. I'm Mitya, all my friends call me Mitrich. I'm 56, I work as a truck driver. On the weekends I like to watch box fighting while playing dominoes with my fellows. It seemed to me that I was stuck in the universe of some low-quality romance with the most stereotypical characters. However, maybe all these people are not as simple as they seem. Kira, are you being a bit self-aware there? Are you aware that you're in a game? Nastya says, I'm 20, a second-year student in Moscow. I love reading, dancing and karaoke. I'm 19, but in 2 months I'll be 20 also. I am a first year in my free time. I play games on the console and football. Well, I also like to read, of course. Nastya, what university do you study at, by the way? At Moscow State University. And you? Wow, I'm at MSU too, at the Department of History. I study mass media and journalism. Okay, that's got to be the ship, right? A ship, Boria and Nastya. Are we going for that? Are we putting those characters together? Well, let's go. Since everyone got to know each other, I hope this team building was useful, and now we'll quicken up. We continued walking. Boria and Nastya, who were walking behind, were having a conversation. I quickened my pace a little and caught up with Tonya. You work in Moscow, don't you? Yeah, why? I haven't done nails for a long time. I don't have time at all because of work. Can I make an appointment with you? Of course. As soon as we get back, come to me. I'll make you the most beautiful nails in all of Moscow. Okay, so it's not a lab coat she's wearing then, it's just a white coat. I actually said this to keep the conversation going with Tonya, but maybe I really should visit her. It's time to start paying more attention to your appearance. Don't forget, I'll give you a personal discount. Oh, thanks. I won't forget. I was wondering what else to talk about and got interrupted by Boreas shouting, "There's someone out there!" I looked into the endless white landscape and noticed a figure of a man in black. "Oh, let's speed up before he leaves." He's walking in our direction. The man waved at us, signifying that he had indeed seen us. "Aha! It's you. It's Mark." I quickened and soon got a good look at his face. "Mark? Kira? Oh, they know each other, okay." Of course, I knew that Mark flew home every year around this time, but until now we had never met on the same flight. Now that I just started to forget about him, we got lucky to meet. "I'm glad to see you." "And I am not." "Oh, okay. Is there a bit of bad blood here? Do you two not like each other? Or whatever?" Tonya's jaw dropped in surprise, but then without too many questions she turned to Mark. "So your name is Mark, right? I'm Tonya. Nice to meet you. Were you in the tail?" "Me too, yes, in the tail. And you are from the head?" Not really. We were in a little wreckage from the middle." "Got it. Well, let's go. It's about a 5 minutes of walk to the tail. There are many survivors. Are there any wounded among you?" "Nastya injured her leg a little, but it seems that the injury is not serious." Mark turned towards Boris, on whom Nastya was leaning. "Aren't you tired? I can help Nastya get to the camp if you want a rest." No, I'm not tired at all." "Oh no, he's not giving up his girl. He's not giving up his waifu," who he just met. "That's good." "Also, we left one wounded inside the wreckage. We decided not to carry him so as not to make things worse." "Duh, that's right. We have a doctor among us, so we'll go with her to the wreck and examine the wounded if you show the way." "I'll show you." "Great, then let's go catch Lisa." Mark headed towards the camp and we followed him. What's the backstory between... Nick. Okay, back to Nick. Chapter 3. Alright, let's do this. We couldn't find anyone else other than the guys from the middle part of the plane. At least no one alive. On the other hand, we did a lot of other useful work. We cleaned the cabin, arranged makeshift beds for the wounded in the back rows, and got all the food that we found in the hand luggage. Everyone who could stand on their feet was committing. We were very lucky that none of us was whining or freaking out. At least I still managed to let everyone down with the pessimistic forecasts, though. However, she took part in cleaning the salon, at least. I was very tired, hardly felt hungry, and all I ate during the day was a quarter of a chocolate bar and a piece of sausage. The cold was more threatening for me. In general, I like winter and endure cold more easily than heat, but the weather now was too harsh for me. Oh yeah, there's one thing between winter when you're, in a nice built-up urban area, and winter out in the frickin' wilderness. In the cold winter season, when coming home, I'm usually warmed by the thought that soon I'll be having a hot tea wrapped in a warm blanket. Now, though, there was nowhere to hide from the cold. I felt weak and helpless in front of it. It wasn't clear when it will loosen, or will it ever loosen. I tried to distract myself from thoughts about the weather by talking with my new friends. I had sympathy for Mark, Nastya and Boria among all. Mark is smart and reasonable. His confidence and calmness took over the fear and anxiety that others were feeling. Boria and Nastya are nice and optimistic guys. Also, unlike the rest of the survivors, they're not much older than me. Maybe that's why it's easier for me to communicate with them. Kira left quite a big of an impression too. I'm not sure how I feel about her. Her attempts to approach everyone around trying to cheer up with stereotype phrases annoyed me. On the other hand, she apparently did it with the right intentions, and perhaps her words would really help someone. Somewhere in the middle of the day, she came up to me. "Ah, this is Kira then. Let me just drink some more water." There we are. Oh, sorry. Let me just clear my throat. Been talking for a while. You're Nick, right? Are you Kira? Yes, I believe that we must work as a team if we want to survive. That's why we need to get to know each other better. Could you please tell us about yourself? Suddenly, it felt as if I went back to the kids' camp again, where I used to spend every summer. Every time we arrived at the camp, the first thing that we would do was make acquaintances and introduce ourselves. The stories were useless, silly, and faded from my memory after a couple of hours at most. That was a tradition, though. Just like, I'll admit, as an academic, in plenty of classroom contexts, I've often done similar things at the start of a course, getting everyone to introduce themselves. Yes. I was about to tell Kira that I don't really like this idea, but then I changed my mind. Why would I risk being on bad terms with him? With him? With her, do you mean? I'm Nick, I'm 15. I live in Moscow. From time to time I go to visit my father in Barnaul. Brevity's the soul of wit, right? I study in Moscow and I have a family in Barnaul. How are you holding up? Don't worry, everything will be fine. They find crash planes pretty fast nowadays. I think we'll have to stay here for 1 or 2 nights at the most. You say that, but there are some notable ones where they didn't. But then again, most of the notable ones where they don't find them, they tend to be planes that crash in the ocean, like out in the middle of nowhere. What are her predictions based on? Did she really mean what she said? It seemed to me that Kira, in fact, was trying to calm down herself rather than calming me down. Well, if so, then I'll try to play along with her. You're right. I can already imagine how I'm going to play the console at my dad's house. Hopefully I can do it before the new year, otherwise we agreed to go bowling on the 31st. Kira nodded. She liked my answer. I see that you're doing well. Well done. You can talk to others and cheer them up like I'm trying to do. If you want, of course. Otherwise I'm afraid that they might have a breakdown or start panicking. Okay, I'll try. Kira went to another part of the plane. She seems to have completed her detour. According to my observation, she managed to talk to everyone who was conscious, except for Mark. I wonder why that is. There's some bad blood going on there. I wonder if it'll be a cause of conflict among the group later on. There wasn't much to do, so I decided to follow Kira's advice and talk to someone. The problem was that some of the survivors were sleeping, and others were simply minding their own business. Ooh. I need to choose whom I should approach first. Lisa, Andre, or Mitrich? Okay, so we are going to get choices in this game. That's interesting. Can I save? Yes, I can. Okay, that's good. I feel like you always save whenever you get the chance, if you get a choice like this. Alright, so we could go for Lisa, the girl, the woman who seems to have the medical knowledge and the first aid kit. We talked to Andre, who we met earlier, the blonde-haired guy, who I'm convinced is probably the same Andre from Kira's flashback scene a moment ago. Or we could talk to the old guy, Mitrich, which is interesting. Who shall we go for? I'll be honest, I kind of would like to talk to all of them, because I think they all might be quite interesting. Screw it, let's go for Lisa. Just go for one of them, just pick one of them. At the very end of the plane I saw Lisa and decided to approach her. The last two rows in the cabin became something like a ward in which 4 wounded were placed. Hi Lisa. Oh Nick, is that you? How'd you feel? Did you get enough sleep? I slept well and feel a lot better. That's good. But Lisa looked sleepy. She must have been treating the wounded all night. Do you need help? It won't hurt. Thanks for asking. What should I do? You need to find a long, strong branch. Can you do it? How long? Take the longest one you can find. I felt like a character on an RPG quest. I'm glad you didn't ask for something like 10 rat tails. What's it for? Lisa put on a disgruntled expression. Apparently that implied that her order should be carried out with no clarifying questions. Oh, that implied, rather. Oh god. I need to fix Inokenti Igorevich's leg onto something. I fixed it on a chair handle, but I need something longer. He needs a splint, I'm guessing. I decided not to test Lisa's patience anymore, and I went searching for it. Yeah, in a situation like this, sometimes might be best just to do, rather than question. Well, not in all cases, though. The trees were about 3 minutes of walk from here. Ooh, is this a good idea? I've never been into plants. I did look like a nerd. Had very little to do with my knowledge of plants, though. All I could say about these trees was that they were conifers and that they looked bare. I've never seen conifers shed their needles. For a while, I wandered around the mini-forest trying to find a suitable branch. It appeared to be more challenging. They were either too thin, or short, or bent. Finally, when I was already starting to freeze, it caught my eye and I found what I was looking for. The branch was high enough, but I managed to reach it and break it off. After that, I cleared it of a number of small, intact needles. I thought a hint should appear now. Acquired a long branch times 1, head to Lisa to complete the quest. Oh, nice little fourth wall breaking jokes here. Game. It didn't take long to get from the trees to the plane, but during that time I got cold. The palms suffered the most. I used to put them in my pockets, but this time a branch got in the way. Maybe we should ask someone for gloves, or find them among the belongings of the dead. That's probably a good idea. I wonder if some of these choices you make could sort of send you in directions where characters could get hurt, or even killed. That could be a thing, so it's worth thinking about. On the one hand, I hated to think that we might have to take someone else's stuff. It's like stealing. On the other hand, I myself wouldn't mind if my belongings helped someone survive if I died. It's a bit like a posthumous donation. Yeah, think of it that way. I mean, you're in a survival situation, okay? The normal rules might sometimes have to go out the window. For now, though, I decided not to think about it. It's possible that someone had a spare pair of gloves. I got into the plane. Lisa met me at the entrance. Seeing me in my branch, she burst into laughter. I knew you wouldn't let me down, Nick. Thank you. It's nice to feel useful, even when it's just finding a branch. What kind of trees grow there, do you know? Probably larches. I didn't get to see them because of the wounded. I almost didn't get out of the plane. Would you like to meet them, by the way? I didn't want to. I was scared to look at the wounded, their bruises, blood, faces distorted with pain. but it would be too impolite to refuse. Of course I do. Inokenti Igorevich, this is Nick. He brought a stick for your leg. Well done. Inokenti Igorevich was clearly out of sorts. I understand him. I've never broken my limbs, but I've heard that it's unbearably painful. Nick, this is Inokenti Igorevich. He has a broken leg. I'm giving him painkillers, but he's still very sick. I nodded. And this is... oh. This one's name was mentioned on one of the glossary screens. And this is Vera Grigorievna. Thank you for helping him, son. Please don't mind him. He's the kind of person that never shows gratitude. In 50 years he hasn't said a kind word to me. He's probably an older woman then. You're so full of it. Must be tough for Lisa here. She gets to listen to their constant arguing. That man is Anatoly. He was in the central fragment. He's not feeling well and sleeps a lot, and that woman hasn't regained consciousness yet. I hope they all get better. Lisa shook her head sadly. That's unlikely. They won't recover here. I'll do my best to give them help before the rescuers arrive, so they get professional medical care afterward. You can do it. Thank you, Nick. I said goodbye and returned to the front of the cabin. Okay, maybe we're going to get an opportunity to go with everyone here, so maybe it isn't going to matter so much. I'm still going to save, though. Andre next, I guess. Well, I guess we'll just go down the line. I decided to approach Andre, who was looking at something on his phone. I was thinking about how to start the conversation. To my relief, Andre spoke first. Hello, Nick. I was just about to come up to you. I have a request. Which one? Do you have your phone with you? Yes, but there is no signal. Which service is this? Tele 11. Great, that's just what I need. I've collected phones from different services, and I want to walk around the area. I might get lucky with the connection. Great idea. I didn't really want to give my phone to someone I didn't know, but it was hard to come up with an excuse to refuse. Can I have it then? I'll return it right after one round. I unwillingly handed my phone to Andre. It's low on power, so I turned it off. Saying this, I seemed to hope that this might make Andre give up his plan. Oui, I understand. We have two power banks. We found them together with some other stuff, so if your phone runs out, I'll recharge it. Good. Hope he's not going to ask for a passcode. You can check the connection without it. And there he goes. He asks for it. Can you tell me what your PIN code is, please, so I can call you right away if the connection catches up? Damn, what should I say to him? Think fast. You can also call the rescue service without a PIN code. You need to hold down the top sound button and the off button. Andre looked at me incredulously. Ah, oui, okay, thanks. Wish me luck, Nick. Good luck. Showed him my fingers crossed. Andre waved at me and went to the exit. I breathed a sigh of relief. Why was I so reluctant to tell him the PIN code? I don't have anything to hide on my phone, but something inside me just didn't feel safe giving away access to my messages and a browser with saved passwords. Hope it didn't sound too weird. No, Matt. Anyone with any knowledge of technology knows that, data stored on a phone and all that. You don't just want to give that to any stranger. Mitrich, old guy, came up to Mitrich staring at the hole in the left side of the plane. Mitrich is an elderly man who works as a truck driver. I managed to get to know him, but our dialogue was very short. He seemed to be a nice person, perhaps because he reminded me of my grandfather. He was also sociable and friendly. Mitrich was very passionate about his job. He looked at the cavity from different sides and took measures to estimate the thickness. Wondered what would happen next. At some point he finally noticed that I was standing next to him and decided to greet me. Kolya, great. How are you, sonny? Did our doctor fix you up? I wasn't surprised he called me Kolya. For some reason older people absolutely do not accept Nick as a short name for Nikolai. They're all going for a more familiar option. I'm just going to check. No, that's not showed up there. On the other hand, I was surprised that I had already become his sonny. However, my grandfather would also talk to people that he knew for a couple of hours, as if they were his closest friends. Yeah, I'm better now, thanks. Lisa said the injuries were minor. Thanks for asking. Well, thank God. Hey, can you help me with something? I know, of course he would ask me for a favour. Shouldn't have approached him at all. Never liked working with my hands. It has nothing to do with laziness. Okay, maybe it has, but it's not the main reason. Problem is that I'm really a butterfingers. Nick, a lot of people are, okay? A lot of people are not practical with their hands. That's pretty normal. I take this after my dad. He would never know how to handle male household chores like nailing shelves or fixing something. Instead he said, let's leave this to professionals and call masters, plumbers or electricians. And you know what? If you're not practical with your hands, don't be ashamed of that. Learn what you can, but if ultimately you need to ask for help, that's absolutely fine. You can do that, ladies and gentlemen. Lord knows I'm not exactly practical with my hands. I can do basic stuff, but there is stuff that I won't be able to do. One day he decided to hire a driver after another promotion at work. Since then, his driver, Uncle Zhenya, has been doing all these housework. I don't know if Dad pays him extra for this, but I won't be surprised if not. Dad and Uncle Zhenya are friends, plus the latter claims that he loves repairing things, especially technical equipment. Kolya, why are you up? Come on, don't be shy. Hold this blanket, we'll glue it now. Mitrich measured out a long piece of tape and glued it to the fuselage on the left from the hole. After evaluating the results of his work and as if nodding to himself in approval, Mitrich kept sticking the tape around the frame. Will it hold? It looked to me as if I was saying total bullshit. Of course it will. It's Lehman. You think I bought this by accident? No, I got it in Moscow, because you can't find this back in my city. Holds up well in the cold, by the way. German quality. I was a little embarrassed that I'd never heard of the Lehman tape. All I know about tape is that in English it's called tape, not scotch. What? One of my dad's favourite stories. During a business trip to Singapore, he asked at the reception for scotch at the hotel, and he was told that Scotch whisky can be found in the minibar. Oh, is this something in Russian? Scotch tape is called just scotch in Russian, which can be confusing for English speakers. Okay, I get it. I'm glad there's a glossary there, because that's one of those things that feels like it could end up being lost in translation. Okay, come here. I'll stick it on the left, you hold it on the right. That's it, Molotok. Literally translated as a hammer is an old-fashioned way to say good job in Russian. Cool. Really? He even has a hammer with him? I almost asked which hammer, where can I get it? But at the very last second, I realised that he must have been praising me like that. Something like the word well done. Yeah, it's hard to understand boomers sometimes. Let's go stick it from the outside. There was no way to refuse, so I followed him. Luckily, we managed to be done very quickly. Mitrich put tape around the frame and waited for me to hand him the blanket. Excuse me, but why do you need tape at all? Why did you bring it with you? My wife and I started home repairs. Well, tape is a tape. It will always come in handy in the household. I nodded. I wonder at what age I'll start buying a tape thinking that it will always come in handy in the household. Nick, old boy, you're still basically just a kid. You're not going to need to worry about that yet. But don't you worry, there will come a time in life where you just randomly start thinking about things you could have around your household that would come in very handy. You'll be thinking about things like, maybe I should have a toolbox in my cupboard with all the Allen keys in the world in it. We worked on it for some more time, after which the hole was finally patched up. Mitrich stepped back a few steps to admire the work. Beautiful. Now it'll be warmer inside, just that the entrance has to be closed with something. Okay, Sonny, thanks for the help. Oh, it's these two. Returned to the plane, I noticed Vitya smoking at the entrance and Vadim standing next to him. They were talking about something. I think Vitya is the guy on the left, if I remember correctly. So if you want to start, take a Yamaha 125, you can't go wrong. It's good for beginners. Maybe he's a biker, maybe that's the thing. They talked about motorcycles. I'm not surprised. The bike fits perfectly into Vitya's image. Yeah, it would suit Vadim too. Cool guys like him also often drive them. Nick, hi. Became an apprentice. They noticed that Sorry, I've been talking for a while, so naturally I'm going to start fluffing lines. They noticed how I was helping Mitrich. This would make my mum very happy that now I can do something around the house. Great. Mitrich is very happy too. He's always optimistic and cheerful, but at the moment he was beaming. Did you find cigarettes? Yeah, a whole lot of it even. 2 blocks and almost a half dozen fucking hell. I'm like adding words that aren't even there now. 2 blocks and almost a dozen packs. We can smoke until we pass out. You want some? No thanks. And you? What? No, I said I don't smoke. It's bad for health. Yeah, that's right, sorry. So where do we start? How much is that motorbike you were talking about? I felt the cold wind again, so I hurried inside. Well, I guess they're bonding, probably, which is probably what you want. You want people to bond in a situation like this, I would guess. The day flew by pretty quickly. It was unfortunate I got into this exact plane, but I was lucky that I crashed together with these people. Most of them showed optimism, willing to support each other and work together for salvation. It was inspiring and promising. With these thoughts, I got comfortable and tried to nap. Uh-oh, is it chapter time? I couldn't do it right away. Chapter transition time, rather. I tossed and turned for a long time, trying to find a comfortable position. I don't get to sleep on the seat of a crashed plane very often. But after a while, the right position was found, and I began to fall asleep. Oh, maybe not. I feel like this is the moment where something bad could happen. Because of the not just because of the music, though. Because it's getting night. When I woke up, the first thing I did was open my eyes and look around the interior. It was dark, and everyone was asleep. I decided to check the time and took my phone out by habit. Andre didn't manage to get cell reception. The phone turned out to be off, of course. I went to check the luggage rack, very quietly trying not to wake anyone up. Mitrich had left his wristwatch there so that we could check the time without wasting the phone battery. Picked up the watch and took out my phone to shine a flashlight on it, but the phone was still off. I tried to focus my sight and I finally managed to see the position of the arrows. It was about 1 in the morning. That means I only slept for a couple of hours. I wonder where I woke up. As if to answer my question, there were some sounds in the background. Most likely, they woke me up. What kind of sounds? Let me just clear my throat and take another sip of water. Let's have a listen, if there is going to be a sound effect. I tried to listen carefully. It seemed that someone was walking in the snow. Maybe the guys went out for a smoke? But the sounds were too frequent. Must be one of the guys who went for a run? I decided to go out and check, but by the time I tied my laces and got to the exit, the sounds had stopped. When I got off the plane, I saw Vitya smoking at the entrance. "Can't sleep, little bro?" Having said this, Vitya handed me a pack of cigarettes. I shook my head. Usually I don't expect anything good from people who call everyone around them bros or buddies, but Vitya didn't make any negative impression on me. Unlike Vadim, Vitya didn't look like an aggressive gopnik, but rather like a friendly goof. Might all be part of his country rock star image though. Maybe he's not that simple in reality. Can't everyone on this plane be so good at playing their roles of stereotypical characters? You're pushing that fourth wall again there. Yes, for some reason I can't sleep. It happens to me that when there are too many emotions built up by the end of the day... Oh, it happens to me when there are too many emotions. I'm like inserting words. What am I doing? I also thought I heard some sounds. Richard's face suddenly changed. "You too? I already thought I was glitching." Like someone was slapping in the snow. He took thought, trying to imagine. Anne was there too, but there was another one, like champing. That sounds even worse. Yeah, I don't like it either. Maybe there's some wild animals out here. I don't know if animals can even live in such a place. Should ask it from others. Wouldn't they hibernate in winter? On the other hand, besides the local animals, there's no one. People can't live here except for us. So either the animals went crazy or my mind did. That's unlikely. She couldn't have gone with us at the same time, could she? You know... Oh, wrong voice. You know, I wouldn't be surprised. He continued to smoke, looking thoughtfully into the distance. I'm having deja vu right now. What is this? Feels like it's happened to you before. I think it's because I was in a similar situation once at the camp. Vitya looked at me with a curious look as if saying, "Tell me." I was starting to get cold, but in my warm clothes it was bearable. I thought I wouldn't be able to sleep anyway, so why not tell the story? Okay, listen. Oh. Vanya, do you guys hear that sound too? Vanya voiced what the rest did not dare. The answer was not immediate. It seemed to me that it might be some kind of joke. Now I admit that I heard, and then it will turn out that one of the boys put it on the phone, and that's it, they will mind it every chance they get. But the sounds were clearly coming from outside the window, it could not be someone's prank, so I made up my mind. I heard it too. After that, the boys got bolder. Apparently no one believed that I could also be playing a part in that terrible prank. I don't know if that's good or bad. Volodya. Me too. Kolyan can hear it too. It's like someone is howling. Maybe wolves? Sounds more like a human voice. Besides, wolves don't live here. Igor, if someone is trying to joke around, then I'll tear his head off. Classy hot pie. Trying to tear off someone's head was his favourite, and he used it every opportunity. That's an interesting turn of phrase. Classy hot pie. Never heard that one before. I thought about why Igor is called Hot Pie. Of course, no one dares to call him that in person, but behind his back, he is always Hot Pie. The knowledge about Igor's nickname passed from mouth to mouth. We've been together at summer camp 3 times, and every time there is a guy who casually calls him Hot Pie, and then getting his questioning look, be like, "Oh, didn't you know? Igor and I study at the same school, and everyone calls him that, but don't tell him that, he doesn't like his nickname." At the same time, no one knows anything about the origin of the nickname. Maybe Igor was fat when he was younger? Now he's very athletic, though. What do you mean, a joke? The sound is coming from the street. Yeah, seems like it. Nikitos. I know who that is. All eyes went to the thoughtful guy named Nikita. Nikitos, okay, he's Nikita, but I guess they call him Nikitos, was a quiet and mysterious dreamer. Quiet kids often had a hard time in the camp, but for some reason Nikita made an exception. Maybe it's because he had a talent for telling stories. Have you heard the cool story about Valentin Petrovich? Which Valentin Petrovich? Well, about the counsellor? I couldn't figure out if Nikita really thought we should know this story, or if he was so good at making a surprised face. Okay, I'll tell you the story then. He sat down on the bed and began the story with undisguised pleasure. So, 7 years ago there was a case. I didn't go to the camp then, but my elder brother did, and he told me. There was a counsellor at that camp, Valentin Petrovich. He had an affair with one girl. What was her name? I don't remember. Ira or something, but it doesn't matter. Okay, what's next? It gets interesting. He wrote her letters, and they went out for a walk at night, but no one really noticed them until a certain moment. I wonder if there's actually a key in here where you can, like, hide the text box, maybe. Ooh. Oh god, that's activating skipping. Okay, luckily it hasn't skipped anything, because I think it doesn't skip unseen text. And how old was he? I don't remember either, but he wasn't old. 20-something. And the girl? 15. Ooh. Feels weird. Such stories did not particularly surprise anyone. Girls often fell in love with counsellor guys, and boys fell in love with counsellor girls, most often unrequited. To hook up with a counsellor is the dream of every second boy, but I've not heard a single success story. Yet maybe because you're a bit too young, just saying. But on the second last shift of the night, last night of the shift rather, they were caught in the barrel when they, well, you know. Nikitos hesitated to say it. Didn't expect such shyness from him. They were making out? Nah, I think they were doing something else. Collian grinned. He guessed that Nikita meant something more serious than just making out. Hot Pie was notable for his innocence, even though he was a tough-looking adult at first glance. Yeah, something like that. They were making out. One of the younger girls caught them and ran to complain to the counsellor. They came and saw everything and yelled so hard that the whole camp woke up. And then what? The rest of the counsellors decided they would wait until the last night of the camp and then take Valka to the cops. What for? Oh, you're like a small kid, Igor. What do you mean, what for? He was messing with an underage girl. Collian was the only one who could troll or tease Hot Pie, not only behind his back. Collian wasn't athletic or strong, but his audacity and courage helped him to gain authority among the boys. By the way, it was because of him that I became Nick. There were 2 Nikolais at the camp, and so there was no confusion. They began to call him Collian and me Nick. However, it's not that I'm mad because of this. I wasn't too passionate to be called Collian. Collian explained everything clearly. Did they call? Well, I'll tell you now, don't rush it. This Valya locked himself in his room and didn't go out anywhere. They didn't see him all day. When they started knocking on the door, he didn't open it. Then the door was kicked out and he was hanging there. His face was blue. His eyes were bulging. At some point, there was silence in the room. Apparently, the boys like me tried to imagine this picture. Horrible. And what does this have to do with sounds? Well, it's very simple. Due to the fact that Valentin Petrovich hanged himself in such a place, his soul remained here forever. Since then, Valya has been walking around the camp and scaring the guys and counsellor. He can't do anything, he doesn't have a body, but making all sorts of sounds, breaking vases, he knows how to do it. He's just trying to take revenge on this camp for what happened to him. Damn, I was recently walking along the hall, the window cracked, but there was no wind. I think it was Valya. Yeah, most likely. What happened to the girl? Nothing. She was transferred to another school and that's it. Soon everyone forgot about her. That's how it always is, boys. Girls don't care and the guys become ghosts. Watch out, Kolyan. That feels like the path to incel talk, not gonna lie. The guys giggled nervously. The whole story seemed to me wildly stupid and ridiculous. Something on the level of a coffin on wheels, but now I was ready to accept it. And the fact that a ghost cannot harm anyone calmed me down. What's coffin on wheels mean? Soviet children's scary, spooky story for kids, in which a girl gets killed by a coffin on wheels. Ooh, that sounds morbid. Okay. I'll have to probably research that on Google. It's probably an interesting little kid story. Let's call the Bloody Mary tomorrow. You can try, but I don't believe in her. Ghosts exist, that's a fact, but the Bloody Mary is a fairy tale for children. Everyone nodded. Perhaps at another time Nikitos would have been ridiculed for his belief in ghosts, but now he managed to find a very good moment for his stories. And Nikitos knew how to tell them. You can't take that away from him. Sorry, you can probably hear my chair in the background. I should not be shifting around so much. Well, what kind of sounds were they? Did you figure it out in the end? Vitya finished his first cigarette a long time ago, and now he lit the second one. We did. It was some local fools from a neighbouring village who made their way to the camp and decided to make fun of us. They sat under the windows and howled. I see. Vitya tried to say it as if he understood everything from the very beginning, but it seemed to me that there was a little disappointment in his voice. You know, the story's lit, but it has nothing to do with us right now. We don't have anyone here who could be making these sounds on purpose. Yes, I understand. Then who? How do I know? Yeah, right. Okay, little bro, maybe now you want some? He again handed me a pack. Vitya was very intrusive. I even thought about agreeing, but then I heard a voice from behind. Why are you offering cigarettes to a kid, shaggy hair? What are you talking about? He's an adult guy. Are you 18 already? Oh, wrong voice. Are you 18 already, an adult guy? I thought about it for a bit, trying to see my chances to fool her, but decided not to risk it. Okay, once again, might just have to take the volume down. moving. Okay, you've got it. Right, I'm out. I can go. She's right there. Oh, she not? She needs us. Where's the thing from around the other side? Keeps making me move there. Okay, right. Shit, no. Oh, she's right behind. Oh my god, I can't see a thing in this one. Oh! Oh no, that's the card I put out, it's fine. Okay, just keep going. Keep moving. Bit by bit, push our way forward. Okay, we're here.